Hello everyone, this is AJ the Movie Owl back. Now before I begin, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell, sharing the video if you like it, and commenting down below. So what am I going to be doing today? I'm going to be reviewing the new Disney film Jungle Cruise. Now Jungle Cruise hit Disney Plus yesterday, so last night I sat down and I watched it. So let's find out what I think. Now a little background about the film before I begin. The film was produced in 2018 and was meant to have a 2019 release date, but it was subsequently withheld due to the pandemic, and we was then meant to get a release in 2020. That release again didn't happen, so it was moved to 2021, and like I said, it dropped yesterday on Disney Plus. The film did have a premiere in Disneyland on the 24th of July, so not long ago. So a bit about this film, like I said. So the film was directed by a director named Joan Colette Serra, or Jamie Colette Serra, I don't know, I can't pronounce his name, but he has directed a wealth of films that I am aware of. 2016 Shallows, he has directed a few films starring Liam Neeson, including Unknown, Non-Stop, The Commuter and Run All Night. So he has directed stuff, but I wasn't aware of who he actually was until now. The film obviously stars Dwayne Johnson, fantastic actor. Obviously he's come from a wrestling background, but you know, the geezer oozes charisma. From his first major role in The Scorpion King, you could tell then this geezer just had something about him that made him a star on screen, and he always delivers his A game. The film also stars Mrs. Krasinski, Mrs. Jim Halpert, Emily Blunt. Yeah, so Emily Blunt, you know, she's a big actress now. She's been in John Krasinski's 2 Quiet Place movies, being his wife. Nothing like nepotism. She was in Mary Poppins Returns, Edge of Tomorrow, and she's got a huge catalogue of film behind her. Other cast members include Edgar Ramirez as the film's villain, one of the film's villains. Jesse Plemons plays another of the film's villains. Now you know him, he's been in Fargo the TV series, he was in Breaking Bad a bit, and he's one of them actors who pops up and you recognise him. You're like, oh, I've seen him in something, but you don't know where. Also, the film stars Jack Whitehall as the brother to Emily Blunt. So there we have it. The film has a $200 million budget, so it's huge production, and it's got a runtime of 127 minutes, which, you know, is a fair length for a film. 2 hours isn't bad. It's not overly long, not short. Considering the lengths of the Pirate of the Caribbean films. Yeah, so obviously like the pirate films, this film is based on a Disney ride, so make of that what you will. I will mention the soundtrack to the film because it was done by James Newton Howard, who is a fantastic composer. He's composed for films like Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, which is a great soundtrack. His music is very recognisable in both of them Batman films. He's done the Hunger Games series, he's done Sixth Sense, as well as a lot of other M. Night Shyamalan movies. But my all-time favourite soundtrack of him has got to be for Kevin Costner's Waterworld. I think that's a fantastic James Newton Howard soundtrack. I just wanted to mention that. So anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about the film. So the plot for the film, it's basically about, you know, you've got Emily Blunt and her brother. They want to track down the Tree of Life to find a cure for something. So without getting funding for an expedition, they head off to the Amazon and they get Dwayne Johnson's character to take them on this cruise to locate the supposed Tree of Life. Does it exist? Doesn't exist? We don't know. And all sorts of stuff happen on the way. Now, towards the beginning of the film, Emily Blunt does steal an artefact because she can't get it any other way, which sets off a series of events whereby the villain, who wants that artefact as well, Jesse Plemons' villain, starts to chase them down. Anyway, I don't really want to give too much away about the plot because you might want to see the film, you know, I'll say about the plot. But yeah, I won't tell you about what happens in the film, shot for shot, blah, 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 this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. Right, you see that for yourself. It's about what do I think of the film. The film is heavily CG'd. Let's start with that. The film is all that $200 million is there up on the screen, and I'd expect nothing else from Disney. Whenever a film comes out and it is produced by Disney, you know that you're going to get something. You're going to get a good production, shall we say? It's going to look good. It's going to look fantastic. We know that from Disney. That goes without saying. I would argue that the film is too heavily CG'd, which is unfortunate, because some of the CG does let itself down. There's a leopard within the film that plays quite a big part. That leopard never totally feels real. There's an uncanny valley effect to that leopard. It might be in the eyes or whatever. The snakes within the film, things like this, and the cursed villains, much like Pirates of the Caribbean, sort of cursed villains, that sort of thing. They look too cartoony. So there's this reliance on CG that I wish they would stop with. Like I said, I don't know if it's the production companies, the effects houses that Disney uses, but I felt the same with, say, Beauty and the Beast. I never felt that the Beast himself was totally rendered properly, that he needed more work, that he was only about 85-90% completed or something like that. It just didn't look entirely right or as good as what you thought it would look. There have been better CG creatures elsewhere of that sort of ilk. But anyway, back to this film. Sorry, I'm going off on a little tangent there. I'm meandering, much like what the Amazon does. Anyway, so the acting within the film. So, like I said, Dwayne Johnson, he always brings his A game. I've never seen him sleepwalk through a film. He's always a pleasure to watch, regardless of what's going on around him. He knows how to play to the audience. He's fantastic in it. Emily Blunt, just as good. She's a wonderful actress in her own right. She has a wonderful chemistry with Dwayne Johnson's character. Edgar Ramirez, who plays one of the cursed villains, like I said, they're very cartoony. But Jack Whitehall is the brother. He's there, he's fine. And Jesse Plemons as the other villain, a very sort of a cartoony villain, very panto type of a villain. But your main cast, they're all fine. Jack Whitehall plays fine off against Emily Blunt and against Dwayne Johnson. They're all good. The directing for the film is fine. There's nothing wrong with the direction. Like I said, the film looks fabulous. It's colourful. It's bright. It's vibrant. The money's all there on the screen. James Newton Howard's soundtrack for the film. I didn't know it was James Newton Howard until afterwards, I'll be honest. But it's not one of his best soundtracks I've heard. There are a few bits that did sort of speak out to me. Where this film falls down is in its plot. That's the problem. It's primarily, this journey to find this thing, being chased by villains, and stuff occurs, exciting, danger-filled stuff occurs on the way. I felt that the film was a mix of The Mummy and Pirates of the Caribbean. Some people might harken back to an Indiana Jones style of film, but no, don't. It's not Indiana Jones. With Indiana Jones, the action within them was visceral. It was real. It felt real. It felt dangerous. In these, it's more of a Mummy, a next step of evolution from like what the Mummy done. The Mummy was very Indiana Jones-ish, but it made the action that much more cartoony, sort of Looney Tunes kind of action, violence, fighting, and this film sort of plays heavily on that style of a thing. I mean, I understand it's a kids' film and all that, but it just doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like there's any impact to it or any real danger in anything that's happening. So the plot is weak. I don't know what else to expect from a film that's based on a game. The film does feel like it drags slightly for its hour and 27 minutes, and yeah, so for me, it wasn't a great film. I was watching it, and it was reminding me of films that were far better than it. That being the first couple of Pirates of the Caribbean films, but more so The Mummy. I was watching it. I was, you know, there's a scene towards the start of the film where Emily Blunt is on a ladder and bouncing about on this ladder, and it's very reminiscent of the scene in the very first Mummy film with Rachel Weisz, and it was just reminding me of that. And then there's bits with Dwayne Johnson's character which come across as Brendan Fraser's character in The Mummy. Bits where he's throwing this geezer's Jack Whitehall's stuff into the river and not wanting to take it on the boat. I don't know if something ever occurred like that in The Mummy. I can't recall, it's been so long. But I was watching it, I was thinking, oh, this is what Brendan Fraser would do in The Mummy. This is his character, this is what he's doing. So, yeah, there are a few reveals in the film, a few twists, that's why I didn't want to go into the plot. But ultimately, it's a film that's all style over substance. There's no meat to the story. And sometimes you need that. You want that. You crave that. Otherwise, a film, if it's just spectacle from beginning to end, from set piece to set piece, CGI, it does become very boring to watch. And unfortunately, this film suffered in that vein. So anyway, so that's my review. There are my thoughts on this film. I'll leave it there. Please consider subscribing. Like I said, leave me a comment down below. What did you think of the film? Did you like it? Didn't you like it? Tell me your thoughts and I'll get back to you. So this is AJ. Until next time, thank you for watching. Hope to see you soon. Take care. Goodbye.